Good evening, everyone. Hope all is well, and I hope you're having an amazing Monday. Right now, we were having some technical difficulties, but we should be fine, hopefully now. And we're going to be going live with a private wealth and family office consultant. So we're going to be discussing all about that, what it involves, and what it takes to become a private wealth and a family office consultant, because obviously you're dealing with other people's money um, on both fronts, I guess, on private wealth and family office, and obviously consulting them of what the right investments are. Here we go. Super. So let's see it. You.
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can. Great.
Super. Great stuff. Olivia,
Bit of
thank you.
technical difficulties there, but we're live in stream, so
It's all right. It happens. But thank you so much for joining me today. It's a pleasure to have you on in terms of sharing your knowledge in what you do in your professional life and spreading positivity. Thank you so much for coming on.
absolutely. Not at all.
Um, Before we move forward, if you can introduce yourself as to who you are and what you do, and then we can get the conversation going.
Sure. I am Olivia Cooper, and I'm head of private wealth and family office here at Axiom Stone in Mayfair in London. I'm a private wealth lawyer, so I deal with succession planning, tax structuring across numerous jurisdictions and different clients. So
That
that's what, in a nutshell, what I deal with.
that is amazing. So, just to sort of have a background, did you sort of get into law to get to where you are today? So you're a full-time lawyer? Am I sort of
I
right?
am a full-time lawyer, yes. I'm a
Super.
full-time lawyer and a full-time wife as well.
That's good to know. So, Olivia, I mean, when we're growing up as kids, right? I want to take you a few years back into your childhood, teenage life. And
Hmm.
we see a lot of careers in front of us. One can be becoming a lawyer, a doctor, a engineer, architect, all these careers that we see in front of us. Possibly our parents are going through them, family, friends, all of that stuff. Did you aspire to be within another professional career at that point in life, or did you always have that set mind that, yep, I'm going to become a lawyer one day?
Well, I was always interested in law from a very young age because in my family background, I don't have lawyers my parents weren't lawyers,
Okay.
but I came from a very intellectually demanding family. My parents used to have massive discussions about things like the Peloponnesian Wars. You know, they were both historians, they both
Okay.
loved history. So they were both very intelligent. So I had a very intelligent household where they brought me up with an inquiring mind,
Okay.
myself and my sisters. So law was very attractive to me, but no, it wasn't my first career choice. I wasn't always set in my mind, I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to be a lawyer. No, it wasn't like that at all. Law was one of my interests, certainly,
Okay.
but it wasn't my first choice.
So what was your first choice?
I actually was very much interested in commerce. So
Okay.
I studied and economics. I love economics. I read economics at university with French. I'm a linguist. I speak French and Italian fluently. I love languages. So that was my first choice to be something involved in economics.
Okay.
Uh, but I think one of the most important lessons I learned, and that's again is thanks to my parents, is that learning is something we do for all our lives. The
Of
last time
course.
we learn is when we is going into the grave. So it's not a question of this is my career and that is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And I think a lot of young people feel a great deal of pressure to make decisions at a very young age when they're still very much forming opinions,
Of course.
and they're expected to make decisions on the career for the rest of their life. It doesn't actually happen that way. A lot of people change career patterns nowadays. You don't have to choose something right from the beginning, and that's it. You're going to be that till the day you die.
I mean, you mentioned about changing careers. Did you have to change your career? I mean, you mentioned that you studied economics at university. So when people are at university, they're set in their mind, right? That this is
Hmm.
the degree I'm going to do, and this is the professional career within this degree that I'm going to choose. So how did you come about, I mean, from studying economics to then getting into law?
Right, gosh, complicated, very roundabout. Um, I actually, when I read economics at university, I very much enjoyed it. But again, law was always in the back of my head. And then I had a number, I went out into the workplace, I worked in the city, uh, but eventually I decided, actually, no, I want to become a lawyer. And I thought, well, now I need to find out how to do that from where I was, which was in commerce.
Okay.
So I then went to law school from there. And I think that's an important lesson because actually I think you learn a lot more from picking up experience, actually working in the workplace, and you take that into you into your legal career. So it actually helped me a great deal. But
And yeah, sorry.
one thing I would definitely say is for any young people who are, or any people who are involved in a career and they're not happy, it's never too late to change. You know, don't work at something and be miserable, because that is really not going to help you. And also, learning is a process that doesn't just happen at university, because people, as you said, at university, you take a course and that is your lifetime learning. That's it doesn't work like that. Just because I read economics at university doesn't mean I didn't study anything else. And obviously I was reading economics and French, which is a double degree. But I had interests in many other subjects. I still kept my interest in history, in English literature. So it didn't just stop because I was just reading that particular course.
Of
So
course.
learning is something you need to be a bit more open-minded, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, I would say that I wasn't the best at economics, but but the other subjects that were at university, I was pretty good at. Um, so coming back to your sort of educational career, so when was it that you finished your law degree, and then how was it? Because you had that commerce background, you had the
Mhm.
economics background. I'm sure learning the law education must have been pretty easy in terms of understanding, because economics is one of those subjects that you have to have 100% when you're studying that subject. So how was it taking both these careers together and then finding the right professional job in the city, in London? How was it for you, and how was it to get through that barrier in the first instance?
Um, well, I think one of the things I found is that remember I had already had a career in commerce,
Of
so
course.
I before I went to law school, so I already had experience. But one of the things that is very hard is, and I know that students now find it, is getting a training contract because when you study law, before you become a fully fledged solicitor, I'm talking about a solicitor here, not a barrister. Barristers have
Yep.
a different route.
Yep.
But if you come out of law school, you're not a fully fledged solicitor. You have to do something called a training contract. And those are with law firms.
Of
And
course.
you have to join a law firm and they give you a training contract, and they are very hard to come by. And a lot of people get very disheartened because they don't find a training contract right in the sort of the first month after they've come out of law school. They still haven't got a training contract. And now we've seen people with even a year, 2 years out of law school and can't find a training contract. Yes,
Wow.
it is difficult. It's a very difficult sphere. I know there have been inquiries into how to make it easier for people who want to enter the field of law. One thing I would say is that if you want to be a lawyer, you have to be really committed,
Of
because it
course.
is hard graft, and it is, I think, an awful, and I'm not disparaging younger people in this, but an awful lot of people might see the law as some sort of glamorous profession. And certainly in my field, because I deal with high net worth individuals, I'm in family office, people think it's very glamorous. An awful lot of the time it isn't. It's hard work, it's reading tax documents, it's looking at legislation across different jurisdictions. It's not glamorous in that sense. Yes, because on my posts you see me, I will be with luxury items. I'm, reviewing the latest car that's come out or something. That's the upside, but the 99% of the time it's hard graft. So if you're not committed to that, then don't look for a career in law. If you're looking for training contracts, try going down the paralegal route, where you get work experience with lawyers and go in that way as a paralegal, and then apply for a training contract that way, because at least you can prove your worth. A lot of law firms now are looking for trainees who have that something extra that they can offer to the firm. And if you've already come in as a paralegal, then it's easier for you to prove your worth, why you should be given a training contract.
But sometimes even by getting into a training contract or becoming a trainee at one of these law firms, it's not that easy, because you are given all the work that your superior would have to do, but they give it to you so that you can just advise them and they can go through the documents, go through the report that you've drawn up, and then give an answer as yes or no to the client. How can a trainee land that perfect sort of trainee job to themselves within these law firms, or where do they look for to have the right career, the right training path, if I were to put it that way?
Well, first of all, if you have a training contract where you're just given work straight off and are expected to know what to do, then you're not in a very good training contract, and you're certainly not being properly supervised. Trainees should never be made to feel in that way, that they are supposed to just be able to basically be a lapdog for the partners.
Superiors, yeah.
That's not the way it works.
Okay.
And certainly not with my trainees. I do give them hard work to do, but I'm always there supervising, and also I develop their knowledge within the law, which is and I give them support, which is what they need, to make sure that they are actually happy in their career choice. And that's another important thing. If you find you're not happy during your training contract, and here I need to explain, a training contract for lawyers, you don't go into what I'm in private wealth, as I've said, and family office, but you, as a trainee, you will have what we call seats in different subjects. So you will be in different departments. So one seat may be property, commercial property. The next
one can be criminal law.
Exactly.
Yep.
So first of all, give it a go, because just because you're in one seat that you don't like, that's a particular aspect of law that you don't like, fine. You don't have to qualify into that particular area of law. So give it a go in another area. But if you find that you're getting to the end of your training contract and you're really unhappy and you don't want to be a lawyer, don't go for it, because it is a hard profession in many ways. It's not an easy ride, and if you're going to be miserable, then try something else.
But it is a hard profession, but it's a well-paid profession.
Money isn't everything. And also another thing I should point out is that this is another misconception about the law.
Yep.
Lawyers aren't fabulously wealthy people. I hate to point it out to you, but it is a fact. And trainees, unless you're working for the Magic Circle firms, even there, the salaries are not brilliant.
You mentioned Magic Circle firms. What do you mean by that? I mean, the top firms in the UK?
Yes, they're large, very large corporate firms, and I'm not going to mention names, but they are called we know them as the Magic Circle firms.
Wow.
And yes, they tend to pay their trainees better salaries than anybody else, but then they expect a pound of flesh, shall we say, for that.
Wow.
Well, not literally, don't worry. But that's where you get the benefit. So people have that sort of image, and I think also they have a mirror image of the sort of the American law firm, where we all clip around in heels and carrying these very light little files with us, and then all go out to dinner together. I'm afraid it doesn't work like that. Very often, I can be on the phone at 2:00 in the morning because I'm speaking to Singapore.
Absolutely.
Or, it's a hard work. It's not glamorous. I would like to. It's a great job if you enjoy it the way I do.
Yep.
But it's not glamorous. So please don't come into it for the wrong reasons. But
That is
it is a great career.
that is good to know. So, when did you decide to possibly leave the law firm that you were working for and get into private wealth and family office, where you are still soliciting clients, but
Hmm.
you're also consulting them in where to invest or what to do with their wealth or how to go about running
Okay.
their investments, I guess.
Well, I've been in private wealth now for too many years to remember, and I've built up my practice. So I've just joined Axiom Stone, where
Yeah.
my practice is. We're based here in Mayfair, but as I said, I have clients all over the world. What I do is I came here because it's a great firm to be with, and I'm really pleased that I moved my practice here. Uh, I don't, let me just go back to what family wealth actually is. I don't advise on investments as such.
Okay.
I'm not a wealth advisor. What I
Yep.
do is the structuring. So if you're buying a property, a large commercial investment, families invest in commercial property, I will do the structuring, how you hold it, the best way of
Got you.
holding it. But also, what I look at is the whole family. So I will sit down with the leader of the family or what we call the principal, and we discuss what are the goals, what do they want to achieve, and how many generations are we going to be planning for? And
Wow.
then we look at how to structure the family wealth so that it survives all those generations and it can help them and it can actually help the family achieve the goals that they want. So it's much more of a, it's not just tax planning, it's quite it's all encompassing. So it's a complicated structure.
I was
And
looking at I was watching one of your videos where you asked the question to the students in the room and you said when you what do you think of when you think family office? And they all thought the same thing where tax evasion, right?
yeah,
Saving
tax
money.
avoidance rather than
That
evasion. Tax
tax
evasion lands you in prison.
tax avoidance. And sort of that's the concept that a lot of people have, that all these private wealth and family offices that are set up around the world are for these reasons, to save them money on taxations. Is that the case, or is there something
No.
more to a family, a private wealth and a family office?
Okay, first of all, there are two things that are certain in life, as you know, death and taxes.
Of course.
Um, Tax avoidance
I like
is
I like the way you put it.
I can't create that's a quote, I'm afraid. I can't take the credit for that. But going back to family offices, it's absolutely true that outside of the realm of family office, the most people think that family offices are set up to avoid paying tax.
Yep.
And yes, of course, there is an element of tax planning in it, but that is not actually the principal reason for setting up a private, single family office. When families are work together, a single family office can be a very powerful unit. And the main idea behind the family unit is to make, as behind the single family office, is to make a structure that lasts for multiple generations, that makes sure that it protects the family for multiple generations and allows members of the family to grow within that structure. So, for example, a perfect example would be sometimes you have a family business, and you will have somebody who set up a family business, nurtured it, loved it, and perhaps the children don't want to actually enter into this family business. The first thing they think of is, oh, we'll just have to sell it because I want to retire, and then we'll invest the money. Well, why do you sell it? You've nurtured it, you've loved it for so long. Why sell it? We can put it into a structure which we call a family office,
Got you.
where it will be protected, where you can have people running it, there'll be management and so forth, and the wealth that it generates can then be used within the family office. For example, projects involving the children in their own ideas. So maybe they want to set up
Got
their
you.
own businesses, and that's how we do things like structuring. But
So
luckily,
at the same time, you have your business running as well, and
it's all in one
it sort of
all in
feeds
one
the other
structure.
part of the families that, let's say
Exactly.
one wants to open up a clinic, wants to open up a,
Exactly.
whatever they want to do.
But the great thing is about the family office, and that's why I love them so much, is they've been around in history. People think they're something new. They've been around in history for years. I mean, if you look at people like the Medici, they were a fantastic family office, not to mention the Visconti or the Sforza family.
Yep.
But the patronage that comes from a family office, I don't think, as I explained in that video that you saw in my TEDx talk, I was explaining the other aspect of family office is patronage.
Yep.
The majority you'll see of family offices are involved in things like impact investing, in sustainable investing. They're pushing forward the need for these investments. They're also more likely to be involved in direct investing. So if somebody is setting up a business, for example, or there's what we call an alpha idea, you may have thought of sort of a fantastic idea, but can't get the backing for it through the usual channels of banks and so forth, and the city won't look at you.
Yep.
Family offices are very big in direct investment. And the great thing about having a family office on board is very often the wealth of knowledge in that family office is so useful to the entrepreneur. So
Absolutely.
not only are they investing in your business, but they're also investing with knowledge as well. So you've got a ready-made network of contacts, help, whatever you need. And entrepreneurs find that very useful. So
not only would the capital boost their business, but also the knowledge and the connections and the network
exactly.
It's something like a non-commercial Dragon's Den, if I may say. Is that?
Well, in a way, a bit like that. Yes, it's a bit like a Dragon's Den, exactly. Yeah. But what the great thing about family offices is because they are run for families, for a single family, you find that they are each family has their own wealth of knowledge, their own ethos, what drives them forward, what keeps them as a family,
of course,
and what are their interests, so, and they will invest in areas that they know. So again, it's a wonderful tool for entrepreneurs to tap into, because family offices are more likely to be open to looking at new projects than certainly some other areas of financing.
And you advise them on the businesses that are pitched to them via the family office of.
Well, my firm will carry out things like legal due diligence. So we check out that, for example, the person who says they've invented this great, wonderful thing actually does own the ownership of that invention, because you can fall foul of things like that. So we would do things like this. I would not advise somebody whether or not to take an investment, no, because I'm not qualified for that. But certainly I do connect people up. So I am always inundated with requests to say this is the latest invention on this and that and the other, and certainly I do get calls from my clients who are looking for in specific sectors. So I can always steer them in the right direction, but I won't actually advise on a particular investment, no.
But if they were to ask you the question of, Olivia, what do you think about it? I mean, obviously you've done all your due diligence, and that's what
the worst thing to ask a lawyer.
Oh well, but
what
sometimes they do ask that, right? I mean, as a property consultant, I get asked the question that whether this property is secure or not, or this guaranteed rental income, is it good, or all those questions. As a consultant, you would look at that and you would be like, where are the flaws? You would obviously.
Well, that's where due diligence comes in. Absolutely, that's where the due diligence checks come in. And so we do have a whole process for checking things out. But ultimately, the decision belongs to the management team of the family office. Yes, and obviously, again, it depends on the actual family, because sometimes they're more involved with the management of their family office than in other cases. So normally, it's the financial planners of the family office that will make that decision.
Of course. Olivia, a quick question.
That's the great thing, because they are always, I think the one thing I love about family offices is the fact that you can join, especially nowadays where I see so many young people not really connecting with any other generation apart from their own. Family offices actually work really well in connecting multiple generations. So right from great-grandparents down to great-grandchildren, they work together as a team, because together the family office joins them together, and they realize that if they don't work together, the whole concept falls apart, and they don't have the strength that they had before. Whereas when we get them working together, they realize that young people have fantastic ideas, but they need the experience of the older
Of
generation, and
course,
together,
of course.
that's the force that moves forward.
Um, I just remember this. I don't remember the full quotation, but Prophet Muhammad once said that in a war, I would have an old person and a young person, because the young person's energy and the old person's experience is going to make me win that war.
Well, that's it. That's very much the case. That's how family office works. We join all generations, and plan for generations we will never live to see. So that's the wonderful thing about a family office.
And you mentioned about generations. So could this run for like 7, 8, 10 generations of a
Oh
family?
yes. Oh yes. You have family offices running now that have been going for centuries,
Wow.
in different formats. Yes,
Wow.
this is the point of it. It's a wonderful tool for families to actually pool their knowledge together, pool their family ethos. What keeps them together as a family? What do they believe in? What do they stand for? And also pulls them together, multiple generations together, and it gives them an enormous amount of strength. Because if you think about it, if you're an investor, if you've got, and putting it in the smallest denomination, I've got
Yep.
£100, my sister has £100, my other sister has £100. If I invest my £100, well, that's great. I'm going to get so much of a return, or I can open the door to so many investments. But if I have all £300 together to
You can
invest,
open up the,
you can open up so many more doors. And
absolutely.
that's the power behind the family office. So you actually have much more investment power as well. And also, obviously, we run a number of networks so that family offices can talk to each other as well. And that's very important as well, because we share knowledge.
That is
So,
absolutely amazing. I mean, it's so good to know about all these things that you've brought forward to me and to the viewers and to the world, whoever's going to watch this later on there. I'm sure their brain space is going to open up in terms of understanding what a family office is and how can it be an advantage to have a family office. Is there an age bracket to it? I mean, when should someone set up their family office? Like, can I come to you right now and say, Olivia, look, I'm looking to set up my family office. These are the aims, these are the goals that I want to achieve, and I want to run them for generations. Would you be able to help out?
well, firstly, if you're thinking about setting up a family office, a single family office, there are two kinds: the traditional single family office, and something I'm very keen on is the virtual family office, because it's less expensive to run and it has all the benefits of the traditional family office.
Okay.
But as the name suggests, it's virtual,
Yep.
so you don't have a building with your name on it. There is no age limit, or you don't have to reach a certain age or a certain age before you can actually think about succession planning.
Got you.
Succession planning should start from when you are young. The younger you start, the better planning you can make. And remember, my clients range in all different age groups, and you may be an entrepreneur in his 20s and has managed to amass a fortune in whatever, in property trading or whatever, or has invented some, as I have clients who have invented some computer gizmo, and suddenly find themselves in quite a financially affluent position.
Yep.
So at that point, just because they're in their 20s doesn't mean they shouldn't think of succession planning.
Got you.
It's not just about making a will, it's about planning this way to
Planning.
service my investments so that they actually make not just make money for me, because that's not what all family office is about. It's making my goals, making me able to reach my goals of what I want for my family and for me.
Absolutely. But thank you so much
So
for
there's
coming
no
on
age
here.
limit.
I am sure, and I'm going to be advising a lot of my close contacts to set up their family office in terms of reaching their goals and reaching their aims. But thank you so much for coming on here. It's been a pleasure to have you on and you talking about and possibly putting that family office sort of cloud straight, like this is what it is, this is how we do it. But before you go, I do this with all my guests that come on here, and it's all about sharing knowledge, which you've done,
Hmm.
and it's also about spreading positivity. So, what positive advice would you like to share with the world today? We've gone through a lot of negative sentiment over 2020. What would you like to share with them so that they can take that on board and move forward in life?
Okay, well, first of all, positive, positive, positive. I deal with when I deal with things, I look for the long term. So the people I deal with, we're not looking at the short term. This is a passing problem. Yes, it's been terrible, and yes, people have died, and I'm very, very sorry for those who are grieving. Absolutely, I understand that completely. But it is only a passing uh, pandemic. This problem will pass, and we will get through it if we remain positive. Yes, there will be a downturn in the economy. There's a downturn in the global economy. It
Of
doesn't mean
course.
we're all going to need to jump off Tower Bridge. We need to carry on working, get ourselves back to normal as most of us are almost back to normal. We can
Absolutely.
work online where needed, as we're doing here. So there is a positive way through. The more negative, if people just and I know the media have not been helpful in this.
Yep.
Uh, this is a disease that is spreading, yes, and we will have re-lockdown and so forth, and we're seeing this happening, and it's just driving people into panic. One thing I would say in positive message is that in terms of the global economy and in terms of the UK economy, medium to long term, we see improvement, we see growth. So there isn't the panic that you see, oh, we're all going to lose our jobs. If you are losing your job, if you have been made redundant, job creation is coming about. There is ways of retraining. There are new jobs being created. So stay focused, stay positive. Don't worry. Don't panic. So that is one of my key messages of positivity. And if you're on your own
Absolutely.
at home as well, that another problem with lockdown is we've seen a lot of mental health problems
Yep.
because
Yep.
as people, we are naturally gregarious. We like to be with people.
Of course.
So try, and now we have that opportunity to get out, even if we're socially distancing. Try and do get out and try and talk to somebody, even if you're social distancing. Try and talk to somebody in the street, in the supermarket. They may think you're a lunatic and run away, but it gets that connection back and it
Or
brings
or
your mind
or
back,
or just go Instagram live.
Go on Instagram as well, but try and talk to people in real life,
Absolutely.
have a bit of
Absolutely.
interaction.
Absolutely. But it was absolutely amazing chatting to Olivia, and I'm sure one day in the near future we'll
Stay
meet up
positive.
and we'll discuss more business between ourselves. But thank you so much for coming on.
There's so much business going on. The world keeps turning. Stay positive.
Absolutely. Thank you, Olivia.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So that was Olivia Cooper, who is a private wealth and family office consultant, lawyer, who advises her clients on how to set up their family offices to achieve their goals, achieve their aims for that particular generations or generations to come. Thank you so much, Olivia, for joining me. Thank you to all the viewers that tuned in. It was a pleasure to have you on. Take care. Bye bye.